What up, Marsh Pod? Got a good show ahead. We're talking SimWorld Prep. We got final four teams left standing. The OGs, Yacht Club Europe, and Rocky Mountain Monsters. Just one seed left standing. A team that I ruled out, which foolishly so apparently, because the OGs are cooking. We're also going to dive into the Marsh mailbag, and we're going to start with a quick SWBA, because by the time you're listening to this, it'll be Monday, and it'll be just hours before Game 5. Game 4 was all Dallas, and I am not completely surprised by that. It is very difficult to sweep a team, and it's very difficult to beat a team on their home floor with that much desperation, which there obviously was on the side of Dallas. Do I expect that to continue, though? I'd be hard-pressed to believe that to be the case, because Boston now has all the momentum in terms of we cannot let this thing go. We've got a chance to do it at home. We've got a chance to turn this 18th banner into a reality. We are not going to let this thing go back to Dallas. Role players tend to play better at home, and that was certainly the case for Dallas. Derek Lively was fantastic. They got a good Game 4 from Tim Hardaway Jr. Whatever the case, I don't know at this point what the status for Kristaps Porzingis is. That doesn't really concern me, because I still think Boston has just more depth. It's going to be the talking point that all you're going to hear is, well, if Dallas gets this one, they go back to Dallas with a chance to push it to a Game 7. And anything can happen if that is the case. That's absolutely correct. The challenge with that is I don't know that Boston lets the leash slip. We've seen them do that. And how have they responded every time that they've lost? The first couple rounds was Game 2. They responded with dominance the rest of the way. And do we really believe Luka, in the span of 48 hours, is going to go from a, petulant, concerned player to locked in for the rest of his time? No, I don't believe that to be the case at all. And it's why Dallas has struggled in this series, because Luka has not been all that dominant throughout the time. I just find it hard to believe that Boston is going to struggle to this extent back at home. It's why I would expect the Celtics to win Game 5 and this to be a wrap. I hope to not. I hope that's not the case, because love the storyline of a series continuing to roll on. But it's not a situation that's ideal for Dallas. All right, on to SimWorld Prep, where we've got 4 teams left. We're going to go through. We're going to talk about how each team got here, and then some predictions for this week's 2 semifinal games. So let's start on the right side of your bracket if you're looking at it. Rocky Mountain and SimWorld Europe. Let's start up top. Rocky Mountain. This is not to discredit their run, but I think they've had some really, really favorable, incredible matchups for them. Best Coast was a matchup that I called a coin flip, because both their style of plays represented really good opportunities for one another to be able to advance. High octane, we play a lot of offense, we don't play much defense. That is exactly what worked out for Rocky Mountain. Their wings had good matchups on the perimeter, their guards had good matchups in the backcourt. They weren't really in a situation where they were getting beaten up inside, which I think is maybe the weakest point of this team's approach. The Bay Area matchup, similarly very good. One notable scorer, Adonis Knight, and then the rest of just inconsistent, yet sometimes capable guys. They did a great job of bottling up Adonis Knight to get that advancement there. Overall, the biggest positive is their offense has been incredible. And I said this at the beginning when we were talking about them, is how do they get to the championship game? It's their offense is fantastic. Do we believe they can do that for 5 straight games? I don't know if I can trust that. But they've done it for 3. Justin Bell, Dink Pate, both of them have been good. Those are their bellwethers. They cannot afford to have bad nights from either of those 2 guys, and thus far, they haven't. They've been very good. Xavier Mann has been great in the last 2 games, which has been necessary and a huge part of why they're moving along into the semifinal round. The offense, though, has to continue to be that good. The defense has gotten some really favorable matchups. I don't know that that's necessarily continuing, but their offense has been awesome enough to get a win. On the other side, SimWorld Europe. No one has bigs who can match them except for the originators. That's how they've won the last 3 games. They've beaten teams up inside, and they have dared teams to come into the paint and try to beat them. No one has a physical answer for Ivanov and Suslov. You can maybe go after one of them. You're not going to get both. And through the first 3 games, no one has even been able to slow down Ivanov. His worst game was when he was up against Oceania. He shot under 50%. He still managed to have a double-double and get 5 assists. Even if Atlantis had advanced, you could talk about, well, they didn't face the number 1 seed in their region. Neither of these teams did. If Atlantis had advanced to the championship game to face off against this team, I don't think Europe, it would have mattered. So to the matchup, we talked about it. Rocky's been good in matchups where their wings and guards have been able to thrive and they haven't been forced to go up against a team that is great in the paint, where they don't really have a great counter option. Europe offers that test, and I like Europe to win by riding their big guys, Ivanov and Suslov. OGs and Cooper Flag, the Boat Show, Yacht Club, and Josiah Cook and company. Let's start with the OGs. They haven't been dominant. They have not. Cooper Flag has been dominant in the fourth quarter and overtimes of these games, but this is a team that has fallen down in each of the first 3 games in the opening half and had been forced to storm back. It was always the concern with a one-star team. What happens when the star isn't rolling? Well, what's happened has been Adrian Walker has stepped up and been really aggressive and really effective. Christ Coates has stepped up and been really effective. They've stopped playing, almost not completely, but damn well close to it, completely stopped playing Jay Laster. 11 minutes against Philadelphia, 16 against Bad Boys after getting 21 against the North and just kind of being inefficient. I would expect that trend to continue. Not a lot of Jay Laster. Christ and Walker will have to keep playing the big roles that they've got, which is certainly possible. But at the end of the day, no one has an answer for Cooper Flag in the fourth quarter. He's gone up against these teams, and their bigs have just not been able to slow him down when they've needed to get stops. On the opposite side, Boat Show, Yacht Club. They held off Southeast Select to end that bid of 3 straight. But what do we like? Well, their guards are good, that they have not been really great this entire postseason. McBride has been pretty rough, honestly. High volume, not efficient, and he had a really, really bad game against Southeast Select. Trey Willis hasn't been all that much better aside from a big night in their opener against H-Town. So where do they excel? They shut off the 3-point shot, which just so happens to be the one weak spot for the Originators, who shoot 15th in the league in 3-point percentage. Josiah Cook's been awesome, okay? The Defensive Player of the Year has lived up to it. Made Almighty Soul his not usual big score number, 26 I think it was, but not efficient. I think 46%. I'll take that from a big man. A guard shooting 46%, we can talk. A big man shooting 46%, that's a win for the defense. He was a big part of the struggles of Ezekiel Bull. Talked about that in the preview for the Gulf Coast Yacht Club game. Ezekiel Bull, Avery Cooks, and Deonta Joyce are the tentpole stars, not necessarily stars, I shouldn't say that, but the tentpole ideations of how does this team win basketball games. They win because their bigs get rolling. They get going in the pick and roll, they're downhill, they're attacking the paint. Josiah Cook did a fantastic job of shutting off Ezekiel Bull. That's what was a big part of them winning that basketball game. He wasn't great against Cadre Baldridge in the paint against Southeast Select, but that's okay. He was really good. They got there, and they had enough scoring to get over the top. So who wins this one? Cook is the best interior defender that Cooper Flag has faced to date. So if the Defensive Player of the Year shows up and shuts him down, and not just shuts him down for 3.5 quarters, but for 4 and change if they need it, they've got a shot. They need to make Cooper Flag inefficient. They need to make Cooper Flag unaggressive, which is what I thought in the semifinal game. Bad Boys did a fantastic job. They said, Christ Coates, you beat us. And they hung around long enough to make that almost happen. Except in the fourth quarter, with 4 minutes left, Cooper Flag says, I'm coming, and they didn't have an answer for him. Josiah Cook is that answer. This is the one shot that he's got to continue to prove why he won Defensive Player of the Year. That's still a very dangerous pathway because they need to have scoring, and unless Willis and McBride suddenly become efficient again, it's going to be really, really challenging for the Yacht Club to pull off. So the other piece of it, that strength of 3. Honestly, the fact that the strength of the Yacht Club has been holding teams to sub 30% shooting from deep, coinciding with that being a weakness for the OGs, honestly does not concern me at all because the OGs haven't need 3-pointers to win basketball games. They win because Cooper Flag is unstoppable. Josiah Cook's got a chance to be, this could be one of the biggest performances in, and albeit short, but in SimWorld Prep history. Because what Cooper Flag has done in these first 3 games has been dominant. And if Josiah Cook can walk in and shut that off, that is going to be immensely impressive. I've still got the OGs to win that game. All right, let's head over to the mailbag. I got to post a link in here in the thread so you guys can jump in there. But question came in, which college teams do you think will be the most fun to watch next season? Wanted to let a little bit more of our of our signings come in so we get an idea. We're still missing the big one, Arthur Lattimore, obviously, as of this recording. Maybe we get stunned by news here in the next couple hours or days. But as of this recording, he's the only top guy that's not signed, the only top 17-year-old that's not signed. So my team to watch, Miami. Simple. That's not debatable to me. You could give me your Glory Tate and Jamison Johnson and Adonis Knight Kentucky talk. I'll hear it. That's great. That's a great answer. I don't care. Because you got the defending champions with Jermaine McLemore, who was dominant in the Final Four. He was fantastic. And then you've got Edgar Fernandez and Dominic Bianco coming in. I'm more curious about this team. Where do you put Kevon Jackson? Is he coming off the bench? Is Edgar Fernandez coming off the bench? What does that rotation look like? But regardless, that team is going to be so high octane. It's going to be so aggressive. I mean, this was the number one scoring offense last season. They borderline were an SWBA offense with the amount of points they scored in 40 minutes a game, nearly 100 points. They didn't win games by less than 10 points. I mean, this has been well covered. I think this was one of the best offensive performances in SimWorld U history over the course of their season. Their entire run during Basketball Bedlam was unmatched in its dominance, unmatched in all of SimWorld U history. Because they didn't win games by less than double figures. Dominant. And now you're going to add Kevon Jackson to that list? Golly, boys. That's a tough defensive assignment. So, to me, it's the Miami Hurricanes, the defending champions. Do I think they're going to win 2 straight? That's really tough to do. We saw that here in SimWorld Prep. Beats of the East, I thought were well poised. Cascadia, Atlantis. Teams go down early on that you don't expect to. And I just don't like picking a team to win in a one-loss elimination. But Miami, that is going to be the most entertaining team to watch. All right, we will be on some broadcasts this week. We've got 2, obviously, huge ones coming up with the semifinals coming in. What is that? Tuesday, Wednesday night. So that will be fantastic. And, of course, Sunday will be the championship game at 1 p.m. So we will be back next week to recap that and enjoy the show. So appreciate you tuning in. Again, we'll try to get the link out there for the mailbag, and we will talk to you next month.